I got a few choice words that I would like to give to you while we record. So I'm gonna wait till we do all that, but I'm about to love you boost down in real time.
Oh,
So
well, shit.
oh well, okay. I'm gonna put it on thick
I'm
now.
actually showing you my scar, I guess.
Yeah,
Oh,
which
yeah,
I
well,
saw
I mean,
too.
The community would love that piece. Like,
It was a medical conversation.
Exactly.
Although, too, one thing you might want to move your camera just a little bit because it's cutting off some of your face. There you go. There you go. Yep. I mean, we got to make sure we see the money shot. Come on now.
Right. So many things.
And tell Alex I said, hey, girl.
I'm so happy to be objectified in my 40s. Hey, community. It's Brian Sims from Agenda PAC. I'm back, and what's brewing today?
Agenda PAC's election plan.
Brian Sims, Curiosity Part 2.
Ooh, and Brandy, where you going, girl? So get your cups ready for Minority Report. Hey, welcome to Minority Report. It is Auntie Kerel.
And it's Auntie Jerrell. What's up, community? And I'm going to say right now, I want to say it first. Go to YouTube because we have a fine individual. Besides the two aunties, we have a fine guest, okay, on the podcast today. And this is going to be one of those visual episodes that you just want to make sure you look at. So,
because last time this person was on, if you haven't seen it yet, who's on, all the comments and all the DMs like, "Ooh, girl, y'all had him on. Ooh, girl, he fought. Ooh, girl." It was the girl DMs that week. So the gays are very happy that he's back here on Minority Report. Here we have the CEO of Agenda PAC, the retired, I guess, politician. He was the 5-time rep here, and I live in Philadelphia, so in my home neck of the woods here now of PA, we have the one and only Brian Sims back on Minority Report this week.
Hi, gentlemen. You figured out all of my husband's aliases that he comments on social media with now. So
he had you covered, boo. He had you covered.
Thank you for responding to each and every one of those comments.
Let me tell you, I know Alex is booked and busy. Okay, the way he be
way too often.
That
truth. When I see him next, I'm going to tell him I said that.
Yeah. But it's so good to see you. I mean, now I got to see you for the first time actually a couple of weeks ago in Gable, which it was honestly so wonderful, like meeting you in real time. Like, there are people that we have on the podcast that I'm like, oh, I'd love to meet you. And I meet them. And sometimes like the energy don't feel like the same as when we are on the podcast.
Say their names.
And I shall not.
I'm keeping a list.
But honestly, like meeting you and Alex like in real time at the Gable like opening ceremony was one of the highlights of the night. Because it was because first off, like I don't know if you know, but Alex and I like actually like go back and forth on Instagram quite a bit. So like I knew
you slide into my husband's DMs. Is that what you mean?
That's what it sounds like.
So it was good to see you at Gable. And
I remember Jerrell. You know what? It's funny. It's funny you say that because we for like the next couple of days we kept saying the same thing as we were having a conversation about it. Like you were blast in person. And I similarly, right? Like we all work with people, we all run into people, and not that people aren't fun and nice outside of the context, but it's not always the same.
Yeah.
And you were even injured. You were even fun, and you were injured. That speaks volumes.
Well, first off, I mean, I wasn't the only one. I joined your group of the injured bodies 2 days in. So I was like, let me tell you, if Brian can be out here with his arm, and his little sling, I can be out there, having a good time too. And
making crutches look sexy.
And as I tried to, it didn't give me as many sympathy drinks as I thought I was gonna get.
Damn.
Like, oh, baby, what happened to you?
I would have played that up with the quickness.
Nah, baby, they were just like, oh, Clearly, what division you play on? And I was like, bitch, I play in A. And they were like, oh, okay,
that.
yeah, because they
You're
thought
like,
I
when you
was.
get me
They
a
thought I
drink,
was a
make sure
nobody.
there's a straw.
Come on, come on.
I know that's
Yeah.
right.
But
Carry
no,
my
honestly,
drink for me, damn it.
it was so fantastic meeting you. And then, like Kerel was just mentioning, people sliding the DMs, girl. Immediately, my team was like, "You know him? Oh, girl, he's fine." I was just like, you know,
And the
what?
guys in Seattle are deeply attractive.
I was
let me
like,
just say that. I'm going to say that ahead of time.
I ain't gonna lie, we do have a cute
That's
team.
See me playing up the compliment I got?
Yeah.
That is a compliment, especially coming from the Seattle folk. It's from the A team at Seattle too.
I
yeah,
mean, we do got a cute team. I ain't gonna lie, we do got a cute team.
I'm like, Rel, tell me more. Honestly, though, yeah. So that was I think that's my second or third gay bowl. My husband played with Boston for a while and now plays with New York. And one of the neat things about it now, especially knowing people from a bunch of different cities, is that if you didn't know football, if you didn't know queer sports, and you went, you'd think that there would be a level of sort of assholery there that does not exist. Like it can be real competitive, and there's some jerks, and we all know who they are. But by and large, there's something really neat about playing teams and then rooting for teams afterward, and seeing your own, seeing the B squad from your city perform really, really well, or sometimes better than the A squad is really neat. This was a really cool year for it, and that team from Denver all looked like professional athletes. But other than that, it was
they did.
It was something else,
and they did.
Yeah, they did.
Actually, I know quite a few of the guys on that Denver team because they had two Denver A teams. Yeah, because one of them actually used to play with us on Boom, and I'm sure you know the one I'm talking about. Tall, skinny, black guy. He actually used to play
He played college ball.
He played college ball, but he also had like a couple tryouts with the Seahawks as well too. So like the guy is a baller. Okay, he's nasty.
But I was the size of like the standard twink on their team. It was wild. They were enormous.
Yeah.
Enormous.
Yeah, they are.
Darling,
yeah, I'm not, especially now. Yeah, it was something else.
But they're also
it was funny. Like there was someone on, I think your husband's team that I know from Chicago days that lives in New York. His name is Ron. I'm not sure if he's on his team or just hanging with the crew, but I saw some pictures. I was like, oh, there go Brian in the damn video there. The world is super fucking small. That's what it is. The world
is super small. And
that's what it is.
This league and these guys are actually, I don't play in it. I'm a wag. Yeah. And I have a blast at it. Orange slices and Capri Suns. But I have a good time at it. A really good time at it. These are good guys.
Yeah.
And how's your your collarbone? We saw that over the summer from the spill you had during the AIDS life
right at the beginning of the AIDS life cycle.
Yeah, the AIDS life cycle.
Yeah, I'm a negative mile into the last AIDS life cycle. I broke it dropping my bike off at the start line to start the next day. Caught a trolley track, and I broke it real bad. I broke some ribs. I broke a bunch of stuff. But I'm now 100%. Yeah, I can do everything that I could do before. I think it's about 5 months out that I am, and so it's still tight, but it doesn't hurt. Some of that made me giggle more than it should have. But I can do everything with it I need to.
Yeah, I know that's right.
Look,
no, that's right.
Resourceful, okay? Look, there's a will, there's a way.
Keep a man down. I can tell you that.
Wait, do you guys want me to show you? No, we're good. We're good. That's all right.
You already got the shirt halfway down, but shit.
Not community.
That's a different podcast.
Not community.
Different podcast.
No, it's this one. It's this one.
Yeah. Minority Report After Hours.
Look.
It might as well be, by the way.
With some strong gas tea, that's what it is.
I would like to go back through your guest pool and select some new recurring guests.
Hey. The community would probably put you towards the top. Like, no lie. That episode, I love the Thirsty Girls. It's great.
Yeah, my parents did all the work, and I do the upkeep, and I am grateful to them.
I mean, some people ain't doing the upkeep, though, so, good for
Here's
you.
to being able to, right?
Amen.
For you.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
I hear you on that. And then community, we haven't even mentioned, obviously you see Miss Shar is not here this week. She's over there in London town, being an American boy with her man over there. So she'll be back next week. But And Dewan says hello, by the way, to you as well, Brian. He was like, "Oh, damn."
He just sat down in London town.
So, yeah, he did. He did.
Speaking of London, by the way, we owe an apology to.
We do. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, I haven't read any reports of him there yet.
No,
Heavy on the yet.
Part.
Heavy on the yet.
Yeah, right?
But Smithy, Alexa, aka Smithy, read us for filth as he should, because I think it was 3 weeks ago we were talking about we were talking about like Khalid and hopefully not fall into maybe like the trap of like only having to do quote unquote gay music, blah, 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 blah. And we were also talking about Sam Smith, and we kept on saying he. Sam Smith is non-binary, so we should have been saying they. So we definitely want to correct that right now. We apologize for that. That was not like our intent, but we said it, and so we got to correct ourselves. So thank you, Smith, for calling that out, because he is they are definitely non-binary, and we want to get the pronouns correct there. So thank you for calling that out. That's why we love you, Smithy, and the community to keeping us together.
Yeah.
So we definitely have to put that out there.
A good quality call in.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sometimes we get it wrong.
Yeah,
and we definitely did. And I think part of growth is being able to have that ownership as well too, and actually mean
1,000.
it. That's the other thing as well too. So yeah, sorry about Sam Smith.
We don't want to be calling out nobody's name like that. Like people have done that to us before, so that don't feel good. And so we definitely apologize for that. So, but we brought Brian in because clearly shit is crazy, and we always talk about how we need to be diligent, how we need to stay on top of voting and things like that. So next week, is election day again, and I know a lot of people are like, well, it ain't the president race and it ain't this race, but there are so many key races still going on, and a lot of times the things that impact you day to day is your local elections. So there's a lot of pertinent local elections that you just need to be aware of as well. But Brian, when we had you on last year, we were a little more hopeful at that point in time.
I just had this flashback. Did you guys see my eyes just glaze over for like a split second? I was like, last year existed.
Yeah.
I remember last year 10 years ago.
And it felt like it.
That part.
And it really do.
Like, how in the world did we get, like, I know how we got here, but it's
last year, 2018.
It literally feels that way. And honestly, the last month feels like 5 years in itself. So it's just like, I hope people realize the importance of voting and showing up and doing their due diligence, but clearly we got to continue to remind folks. So it's just like, I don't even know how to ask the question because it seems so silly to me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, duh, it's important, but like, why should we show up and vote?
Yeah, why the why and the where and the when, right? Always seem to matter. In part, especially because we're always bombarded. We being Democrats, we being people that vote either left or center left, are always bombarding each other with messaging saying this election is the most important election of all time. This is the one where if you don't step up now, we never get the opportunity. And how much of that was foresight, how much of that was hubris, and it's hard to say, except that each election, that we get here going forward feels like, if we're not extremely careful and deliberate about it, like we might not get the same opportunity to have another election like it. And that feels a little too scary, or it feels a little too grandiose, except that it's as someone that spends all of my time studying this, not only is that not too far out there, it's something that this election that we're about to have, and certainly the first election that we'll have, major election that we'll have nationwide next year, will tell a tale that hopefully we're not reading about in history books, or when we are reading about why and how we were able to sort of regain control of what feels like a very deliberately sinking ship. And so this year is a little bit complicated. Last year, 2024, there were elections in pretty much every county in America. There was an election going on. And so the idea of campaign politics was really close to everybody. The same with the midterm 2 years prior to that, elections everywhere. And one of the reasons that in off years and non-midterm years and non-presidential years, that turnout is so low is that both people are a little fried, a little burnt out from what they felt like was a major election the year before, but also in many places there just aren't really quote unquote important elections. And important often means the kind of election that can garner or require enough money to make telling people about that election worthwhile. Campaigning, knocking doors, literature, mailing stuff out to people, doing ads on TV or on social media. And a lot of races, think of little tiny county races, rural county races, small township races. That kind of money doesn't flow to those races, and it's certainly not worth those candidates' time to try to put something up on the airwaves, for example. And so this year has been a very, very different story. In 2025, there are not, we're not surrounded by elections in all corners of this country, but there are some really important elections. I just spent the last 4 months doing a study of what we call the most beatable bigot in every single state in the country. What Agenda PAC does, we use a lot of machine learning, we use AI, predictive analysis, to essentially to try to figure out first, who are the biggest bigots in office in any given state? Who are the people that are driving, who are the most sexist, homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic bigots in office? And the ones that actually matter. And I say that because you'll see a freshman legislator, a sophomore legislator get elected, and they're just trying to make a name for themselves. And so they'll introduce the most heinous, hateful, shit-ass bills that they can find from the four corners of the country, hoping any of them will stick. And they don't, because they are freshmen. But the chair of the Health and Human Services Committee in a state that's been in office for 15 years that introduces just one anti-trans bill a year is not only the chair of a committee, so it's likely to get passed on to the floor or the Senate, but because they're a chair, they're more likely to see co-sponsorship memos of their bills. And so what we know is that the most powerful bigots in a state aren't always the people that are the loudest, of course. They're not always the people introducing the most bigoted bills. They're the ones that are introducing the bigoted bills that matter. They either have buoyancy or they have gravity, and they're able to pull other people in. And so we start from that pool of people in every single state, and then we figure out which of them are beatable and why are they beatable. Some of them are in districts where they're never going to beat. About 75%, 3/4 of the bigots that we find are just in a district where the only way they'll lose is if they're primaried. And right now, if they are primaried, they're primaried from the right on the right. It's not usually good for the issues that we care about.
So this is meaning it's like in areas that's just too small that they're just not getting a lot of opponents and things like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? You take a huge swatches of rural America are Republican and are conservative, not because all of the people are Republican and conservative, which they largely are. It's because that there's so few people in those areas, and those people are Republican.
Yeah.
And so right now, whereas that's not always historically been true, right now extremists are generally only primaried by people who are even more extreme. Certainly moderates within the Republican Party are primaried by people who are more extreme, but the bulk of them are just not defeatable by us, barring some major mistake, some ethics snafu, or some major financial issue, which is also in and of itself not always the case that gets somebody out of office. But the people that are left, those are the ones that we start the real hard math on. And it's like, okay, so now we've narrowed down the pool of candidates in a particular state to the people who are introducing the worst bills. We have figured out the ones that can't be beat. The ones that can, why can they be beat? Some of them are just overplaying their hand. They're being more conservative in a district that's not as conservative. They're hoping that being that conservative will get them money or get them attention or notice that'll allow them to campaign harder or survive longer. Some of them are in districts that have changed, suburban districts that have grown more democratic, rural districts that have emptied out, and what's left are more Democratic votes or a better percentage for Democrats. Okay. That happens all the time. Sometimes it's because that person themselves has just made such a name for themselves being a bad actor that they kind of keep themselves on the menu in a way that they might not otherwise be. A guy in Florida named Fabian Basabe, for example, he's a state legislator there who was sort of well known to be a gay playboy in New York years ago, moved to Florida, married a very conservative person, ran for office as a Republican and won and beat in Miami of all places. And would probably not make the list, except that he is such a heinous bad actor in all of this that he's Florida's most beatable bigot. And so
that's so weird to me, because and maybe I'm naive, or I don't know, but it's just like, to me, it's just like, to get into politics to act like you're something that you're not and things like that, just so you can
A lot
win.
of acting in politics.
It's like it's just so like frustrating to me because like
Yeah, a lot of acting in politics. I will tell you this. While that frustrates the hell out of me personally, especially as someone who's seen a lot of closeted people in office, it's not worth being more frustrated by the fact that
no, just playing.
right now, again, a different podcast. It's not worth giving that any more frustration because this person might I want to say because they might be family. They're not part of my family, no matter what. And so no reason to give them more frustration. The frustration that you should give are to a lot of these people. And again, if you go to agendapac.org, you can see all 50 states, every single state you can find in your state, in your home state, the state you went to college in. Go find out who the biggest bigot is there. On our social media, there's like a tapestry of all of them, and it just looks like my family's family reunion. It looks like my dad's family reunion, right? It's just old and white and sort of nondescript, right? Like it tends to look like a bunch of just sort of heritage-less, angry people. Yeah. And you know the type, right? And if I can't say that, and that's part of the problem is that one of the things that we know about defeating bigotry in all forms, but about equality, is that a person who has a particular type of bigotry is more likely to allow it to be successfully challenged by someone who shares their same privilege than it is by the person who's the victim of that bigotry. And I'll give you the best example. Take a sexist man. A sexist man, who better than a woman to explain to a sexist man why sexism is wrong, right? But a sexist man is broken. They have a broken misogynistic mind. They are already discounting everything that woman says to them, even though it is first person, firsthand, and experiential. Yeah. But when a man says to a sexist man the problems of sexism and misogyny, they are more likely to hear it and process it. It's bullshit, but it's true. And it's why it's not enough for white people to not just be racist themselves, right? Like we have to be overtly anti-racist because the people who are look just like us. They look just like me. And our targets look exactly the way that you would think they look. And do I think that's why they are, anti-equality legislators? No. Some of my favorite people on the planet are white, but those people are using their privilege, their power to attack people who aren't like them. And that is, for me, the root of their bias. It's why they are bigots, and we have figured out that they are beatable. I'll say this last thing about them. We don't then go, okay, these people are beatable. Let's go out and support the Democrats running against them. There are a lot of PACs that do that. We go out and we run directly at them. We figure out what messaging is going to piss off their voters about them the most, and we teach their voters who they really are. It's something they said, something they did, a vote they took, money they've taken. There are a lot of real bad actors in politics, and right now, Republican voters aren't exactly inclined to like politicians anyway, and so we teach them who their politicians really are. Democrats will do the job they can of winning a race in a place they can, but we'll make sure that less Republicans want to vote for the person that they have voted for before.
Damn. Community, look, fine, smart, and kind. I hope y'all paying attention. Turn the volume up. Okay?
Right. And I'm going to check your batteries.
Because this is literally, we talk on the podcast often about like us as like Black men, queer Black men, and just how in our community of Blackness, like we are exhausted, and how we were really just kind of being like, we don't want to be talking a lot about politics.
So I ain't got it this time.
But most of it, because of the numbers don't lie. We showed up when it mattered, and a lot of other people did not. And so what I love hearing from you is also the ownership of being like, white people got to step up, and especially white men too. And you're very right in the sense of like, you can receive more when there's that level of representation, where there's a little bit more of a mirror of people.
Familiarity. If you think you relate to the person talking to you, even if they're your like their moral enemy, unfortunately, you will do that.
Yeah. No, 1,000%.
And what did Audre Lorde say? Your silence won't protect you, right? Like not stepping up. Do you think not fighting back, not stepping up, or expecting others to do it is somehow going to save any of us in what could be, the mass loss of all of our civil rights and maybe our political rights as well? I don't know. It's funny. You asked me earlier about what brings me hope, and the things that bring me hope are that right now, all of the communities that I know of in the United States, that are likely going to be the primary fighters and having to fight back against a pending authoritarianism and fascism that we never saw coming in the 2020s are all communities that have fought back against this or similar shit in our recent history and done so very successfully, but also at high cost. I don't.
How do we get? How do we though? Like, it's like I get that you have the hope, but how do we have others feel that hope?
Yeah,
the ones that
because that's
ultimately
not
are
what
going
I
to need
see.
to vote and get out the house.
I know.
It's like shit. I got to go to the gym today. I still got to cook for my kids. I still got to do that, and I ain't hopeful today because this shit is crazy. Yeah. I was hopeful last year. Y'all told me to be hopeful last year. We see what happened now. We got a motherfucker tearing down the White House.
Yeah.
And so why should I be hopeful today? Because you told me that last time.
Yeah, in part because I think we have a better cadre of fighters or potential fighters than we have had certainly in the Democratic Party in a very, very, very long time. I'm not a part of the Democratic Party. I come from it. I was a Democratic candidate, but everybody knows that being a part of a political party and being a part of the party structure are two very different things. Not a fan of our current Democratic Party structure.
Oh, I got some questions about that on your thoughts too later.
For sure. But there are places that we can and places that we really are winning. Virginia right now. So we were talking about like, where does it matter?
Yeah.
Right now there are big races in Virginia and New Jersey that matter a lot. Gubernatorial races that matter a lot. Yeah. The General Assembly or the House of Representatives, if you will, in each state. Where it matters a lot. In New Jersey, the right now it's a very tight race. New Jersey, historically blue, is a little bit more purple than it should be. It certainly went more purple last election than we wanted it to. But New Jersey right now is one of those states where a little bit of Democratic intervention, and we're seeing a lot of Democratic intervention right now. Millions of dollars are still flowing into New Jersey. And I think that New Jersey is going to be a state where Mikey Sherrill wins the gubernatorial race. Virginia, Abigail Spanberger. Virginia right now, Virginia's Democratic candidate is pulling ahead of their. I think the Republican nominee is the lieutenant governor. I could be wrong about that, but it's now up by like double digits. I spent a lot of time talking to politicos in Virginia, and Virginia's an important state, right? It's a bellwether state. It's one of those states that we kind of measure the whole country by. It's even when we are in years that are active politically everywhere, Virginia is one of those states that we really look to see how the rest of the country is doing. Right now, when it's kind of the only game, the only thing going on, to see it going so well. Our target in Virginia is a guy named Gary Higgins. He's been in office maybe 15 years. He's from Loudoun County in Northern Virginia. He is a classic bigot in office, and we're going to knock him out of office. Democrats in Virginia are going to knock him out. I think that there's a potential for 7, 8, maybe 9 seats to flip in Virginia, and that should give people some pause. It should give people some hope. It's a sign of a lot of things. One, there's been a lot of firings in Washington, D.C., and a lot of professionals in D.C. live in Northern Virginia and live in Maryland and have helped to carry a more conservative vote in this last cycle. And I think a lot of them have had to leave and are gone. And so I think the math is a little bit better. The economy has been huge in those states. And any place where the economy is an issue, Democrats are doing better right now. Okay. And so there are places to give hope. In Pennsylvania, there are 3 Supreme Court justices that are up for retention, and those are deeply, deeply important retention justice elections. And a lot of money is flowing in. I'm glad to see that. But like everybody else, I've got my head on a swivel, trying to figure out where it matters and when it matters and why it matters. And my eyes are on next year's elections across the country.
I see the hope, and hearing it, I do feel a little bit hopeful. But I think what I want to help people figure out is how to fight the fatigue. Because you can be hopeful, you can feel like, okay, cool, that's happening over there, and that's good, but damn, still tired. And I will speak specifically to a lot of folks that I see in the queer community. Because in the queer community, I see particularly a lot of white gays who have been very silent this year and not been posting, not have been,
they've been posting. It's just been the thirst traps.
It's been doing everything other than using their platform and the privilege they have as white gay men who typically have a white audience when you think about where their family is and some of those rural areas where we need them to continue to see the representation of them, right? But I get their fatigue because, I mean, no one wants to battle their family all the time. Some people just want to exist. So
Yeah.
how can we help encourage those? And I'm specifically saying to a lot of the white gay men in the communities, because the amount of white gays I had to call out for being silenced during the murder of a lot of our trans family members, and no one posting or saying anything but boom, thirst traps here, and what we doing to Kiki? I'm like, did you not just see the news? Like, what's going on? So I feel like
well, we first of all, when we all solve this, we better print it down on envelopes and mail it out to every all four corners of this country. But we're onto something here. We're onto something we were talking about earlier about like whose responsibility it is to engage people to be more responsible, right? And if I felt like we had to start from scratch with gay white men, rural, urban, doesn't matter, suburban, if I thought we had to start from scratch with gay white men and say, hey, this is what Black culture is like. This is what the Hispanic community is like. These are why women these are reasons why women are powerful or important. I think, fuck, we're never going to get there, except that gay white men know that. They know that. And you don't have to spend 10 minutes in a car with a gay white man to know that he has influences of color. He has women that are he knows probably more about a couple women in this world than he knows about his sister or his mom, that are famous. The idea here is, how do we get them to extend that love that they have for Black culture and brown culture and trans culture and women and like women's and like reproductive culture, even to some extent? How do we get them to extend that love to capitalize on the respect that exists there and to turn it into advocacy and action? And here's the thing about being an ally, right? What we're talking about is ally engagement. How do we make these people allies for and I don't want them to think about themselves. I don't want them to put themselves. When you hear Dave, my friend Dave in Ohio, I'm making up that. I don't have a friend named Dave in Ohio. Hey, Dave in Ohio. When you hear about the things that are, when you hear about our cities being invaded, when you hear about trans women being killed, when you hear about brown men being stolen and flown away, don't think about what it would be like for you to be stolen and thrown away. Don't think about what it would be like for you to be walking in your town with police in it. Think about all of the people that you like and love and respect and care about and follow. Think about the trans women whose music you love. Think about them being stolen. The Black culture that you love and respect, think about it being criminalized and marginalized. And if you haven't thought about those things until now is the best time to start. Because I think if you remove yourself from the situation, but you put your influences into the situation where they actually are, which should be an easier lift, I think you will find that you'll want to step up. You will be empowered. You'll realize that you can be the appropriate defense between you and that person that looks just like you. You speak their language. You know what they're thinking. You're the perfect shield. And the best allies in the world know to not stand in between or in front of the people that they are allying themselves with and the people across from them, unless they've been asked to. But you've been asked to. So now is the time, right? Now, and it just seems like if you can love trans women on TV, if you can love Black culture musically, if you can love all of the brown people that make your life better, why are you not thinking of what's happening to them in the what's happening to them? Don't put yourself in those situations. You don't need to. You already know it.
Yeah. And quite frankly, to be all the way honest, it's 99% of the time ain't going to happen to them. So putting yourself in that situation ain't realistic.
Yeah. And that's my fear, is that they think I, Brian, white gay guy, born in Washington, D.C., Army colonel parents, I'm not going to get disappeared by a secretive, heinous government. And so
Exactly.
therefore, this stuff is all hyperbole.
Yeah.
Except that it's not hyperbole. Or I, Brian, live in a place where police are not, or military pretending to be police are not raiding my streets and capturing my neighbors. So therefore, I can wait. And honestly, there are just history books filled with quotes about people who waited while they ignored civil rights violations around them.
That. How do we? So, like, another thing that's maybe a frustration is we've always been told to write our senators and write our representatives, and these will get turned around. Yay! It doesn't seem like that's working, and especially like you're saying, like the bad actors. It feels like people are just getting in there for ego. People are just getting in there for money, clout, all this stuff, and it's not what, at least in my heart of hearts, what representing the people is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be sticking up for your community. It's supposed to be listening to your neighbor. It's supposed to be. How can we hold our representation accountable? A. B, how do we even reach them? Like, say you're a representative. Did you even see the emails that came in? Is it just too many to even be able to read them?
No, it's not too many. And that's the big lie. Congress, it's different, and but not a lie when maybe it's still a lie when they say they can't. But I'll give you my office, for example. So I represented about roughly 100,000 people in Center City, Philadelphia. And one of the things that I learned very quickly was that a lot of the constituent services people reached out to me about were actually municipal things that the city was responsible for, not their state government. But that overlap was complicated to explain. And I would get a quicker response from the city government if my office called over there than saying, hey, you should just call your city council person. Yeah. And so, in any given week, on Tuesdays and Fridays, I would meet with my staff. And at some point during a staff meeting, we would go through constituent messages. Now, they come in two forms: the completely unique constituent message. Hey, here's a problem I have. Here's a thing I've been thinking. Here's something I want to talk to you about, whatever you can imagine. And then they come in the sort of mass form where someone has created a link, and if you fill out your name and whatever, they'll send 300 emails to your office about a thing. So I would get one example of that, and just with a note. 310 of these came in, whatever. And if they were read before they got to me, they were presented to me with, here are all the things that were going on, and we would talk about how to respond to them. So that part happens. Okay. And I think a lot of elected officials want people to think it doesn't happen or it can't happen, but it does. Okay. I tell young people trying to get into politics, the best way to do that is to pick a policy issue that you care about, that your elected official is either not doing anything on or might be getting wrong. And send them a white paper, send them research. Don't send them hey, you should be doing this and you're doing that. Say, hey, there's this bill that's been introduced in Illinois. It could be right for Maryland. Here's what the bill is. Looks like there's been some support for it among trade groups or among voters or whatever. I'd love to see some leadership from you on this. That works. I introduced 32 unique bills in my time in office and co-sponsored hundreds of bills. Yeah. And I certainly co-sponsored bills because someone wrote me and said, your colleague in Northeastern Pennsylvania has introduced a bill that does this. I'm a constituent of yours and I believe in it. Would you sign on to it? That works. Nice. The other answer to your question is do calls and all of those things work? And they do. The caveat is this: don't try to get to the elected official, try to get to their chief of staff. Okay. If it's if they're members of Congress, they'll have a policy director, which is usually separate and aside from their constituent affairs director, and they do very different jobs. I would try to get to their policy director in that case. But in office, my chief of staff was the most important person in my life. I had 3 of them during my 10 years, and all 3 of them could have told me to go to my room and go to bed, and I would have done it and been angry about it. I still would have done it.
Go pounding up the stairs.
Right. Like, you went for me, but whatever. But those people matter deeply. The same with issues that are important to them. A number of issues that I worked on during my time in office were important to my staff, and some of them were important to my staff because constituents had brought the issues through them and they picked it up as sort of projects. That's the law works. There's a bigger answer to your question, though, and I say it often, and that is, I think rather than to sort of try to change the minds of our elected officials, I think it's better to change the elected officials.
Amen.
we can do two things at once. This is not an either or. It's an and or and plus, I guess. But because we can do this, we can. You can change the mind of elected. It's hard to say you are doing this flat ass wrong and be on like a partisan. Like you don't write your Republican senator as a Democrat and tell them they're wrong for doing something that is completely partisan Republican. They're not going to care. They're not going to respond. That's a bit of a waste of advocacy. But you can inform your elected officials on subjects that you want them to be engaged on and be better on, and you can support challenges to those elected officials. Frankly, also a lot of incumbents, their politics get better when they have really good challengers. They do. You give an incumbent politician a really great liberal, challenger, and if they win the next time around, they often pick up some of those policies because they're trying to hope to not inflame the same opposition.
Now, speaking of parties, though, this kind of takes me to something you hinted out earlier about not being a Democrat. I would like to take some time to explain to the community and the people out there too, just the importance of understanding, who you are as a voter and what matters to you. Because I feel like a lot of people just think Democrats and they think Republicans and that's it. But there's a whole other lane, especially independents as well too.
Yeah, I'm a registered Democrat. To be clear, I'm a registered Democrat. Right. I just am not. I look at this Democratic Party and I think, man, if you can't even relate to me, and I'm who you think you're relating to, what in the hell are you doing?
So
that's your point about independence.
Yeah. So that's why I got two questions. One, what should the Democratic Party be doing right now? Because I'm with you as well too. I'm a registered Democrat as well too, and I feel like the Democrats in power right now, they're not playing dirty. I'm ready to meet fire with fire. I'm ready to meet energy with energy, and this whole let's play nice type of stuff, it needs to go. And I think most people are on the same page, but somehow our elected officials are still trying to be, but I want to play nice. And I don't know if that's because they're trying to think about when it's their time to be reelected again. And so they're thinking that versus thinking, what should they be doing now as current elected officials? And then the other thing I wanted to ask, my second question, is just your thoughts on how we can help those who identify as independent be a little bit more I don't want to say proactive, but I feel like they could be better teammates. I feel like some people who that's a wonderful way of putting it.
Who identify I'm going to try to use that language more.
But I mean, I just feel like they are pro a lot of the same things that those who are identify as Democrats are. However, they are not necessarily willing to play nice and reach over the aisle with us. And it's like they lumped us kind of similar with Republicans. It's like they're not trying to do nothing, but just their way. Yeah. So those are kind of my two questions.
Yeah, I have some data that backs that up a lot too. So to your first point, sort of what are things that mainstream Democrats, big D Democrats, the Democratic Party, the DNC, the DCCC, what can they be doing right now? And it's a couple of things. You've obviously touched on the fighting back part. I don't think that Gavin Newsom is going to be the next president of the United States. I don't think he's think he is viable to Midwestern Democrats, right? What I like about him right now is the fight, the pluck. Yeah, and then he's willing to be something better than nothing. They say half of style is just being willing to have style.
That's true.
There's something about this fight. Is this how I want the fight to be? And am I judging the fight sometimes? Yeah, I am, but it's fighting. It's fighting back. Is he going to hit on every cylinder? No, he's not. And so I think that this idea of fighting back. We're starting to see a little bit from Kathy Hochul. We're starting to see a little bit from Governor Beshear in Kentucky. It is certainly Pritzker, right? It's becoming this thing to be a little spicy as a governor. It is getting rewarded, and I'm glad for that because we need it desperately. We've got to start testing the boundaries of how we can fight back. Now, I talk a lot about how in the 1990s, Democrats did a bunch of polling that showed that Democratic voters don't like attack ads. We we're high-minded about some things. We don't want to hear somebody called fat or lazy, but we do want to hear differentiation. If someone's bad at something, if someone's criminal at something, we want to hear about it. And right now, Democrats do this thing where if somebody's like a terrible elected official on education for some reason, we'll just run a teacher. And we don't teach everybody why this person was so bad or what their bad actions were. And I think that's because we treat fight like it's a 4-letter word. And you all don't, and I don't, and all of the people who the Democratic Party has relied upon to gain the majorities in places where it has up until now don't. And so we've got to get back to fighting above the belt.
That's the thing. It's like the Democratic Party originally was like, we're going to treat people kindly. We're going to treat, at least for the best of our ability. And the other party, not so much. But now the other party's gone so far gone that like we got to get it sucks that it's dragging us to have to get a little nasty. And it's just the nature of the beast right now kind of thing.
But even people I like are doing a lousy job of it.
You're right.
Tammy Duckworth, who I have the world of respect for, she was responding to Trump's video, where he's air bombing poop on everybody, about how he's wearing military insignia on his hat or something, and that's stolen valor. That's not fighting fire with fire.
Right. This is like, girl.
Like, come on. I see this from Hakeem Jeffries. Yeah. I like at every public opportunity where he's asked, he talks about fighting, and in every public opportunity where he can, he does not.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it was Cory Booker, maybe, and I hope I get this right, but I think it was Cory Booker who took to the Senate floor and stayed there for like the second longest filibuster of all time. But I think the next vote that happened was to confirm more Trump judges, and he voted to confirm them.
It was.
That's the acting you talked about, though, too.
It is. Years ago, I remember somebody told me about a poll that said, the number one predictor of a member of Congress's vote is what is most likely to get them reelected. Now, that's a very subjective thing. Maybe a lot goes into picking what is most likely to get them elected.
Right.
But I think that there's this calculus that's going on among elected officials where are you willing to step up and make yourself a target of the Trump and MAGA sort of White House machine if you feel like you will gain enough support and strength or notoriety or funds to do it? And if not, is it easier for you to exist in a space where you let others do it? You let the Jasmine Crockett's of the world do it.
Right.
And a lot of them are. I think a lot of Democrats are thinking, if I'm going to be the one, I lay low until I can be the one. And none of them are the one, by the way. Not a one. About that. We did not know.
Keep on waiting, then.
Bill Clinton, the governor of Arkansas, Barack Obama. Nobody thought somebody named Barack Hussein Obama was going to be the president of the United States until he spoke at the DNC, right?
Yep.
Whoever the next person is. And that's another problem we're all making. Everyone keeps looking at all of these people and wondering if they're going to be the one. And it just doesn't matter. What matters is who are the 50, who are the 40 that are doing it right now?
Who are the millions
what
that are
can
going
we
to
be
show
doing?
up? That's what it is.
We can be elevating all of them.
Yeah.
You just said it. A lot of people are showing up right now. They might be in state senates and state houses. A lot of them are in cities, big cities. We need to elevate them all. They're not competing with each other to be the next presidential nominee. They're not competing with each other to be the next head of the Senate. They're all fighting back in very real ways against urban fascism.
And we just need people that aren't scared to not get reelected. I say it all the time. I was like, if I ever got into politics, I thank you, Lord, have other talents that I will just take my talents elsewhere if I don't get reelected. But you know what? In these 2 years, these 4 years, bitch, I'm ruffling feathers and getting some shit done. I don't fucking care because the role is not to get reelected. The role is to help people. That's what the fucking role is. And it bothers the hell out of me that you're just sitting there trying to be a career politician just to have a fucking career. Yeah. That's not what the job is. That's not that job. If you want a career, go to Microsoft, ho. Like, it bothers me so fucking bad.
I find the silence really, really especially frustrating, again, because it'd be one thing if we were only seeing rights stripped back from people in one geographic location, right? Like if all of the racism that was happening in America right now, this moment, right today, was only happening against, say, Cuban Americans, and the rest of the country didn't know any Cuban Americans. But since the fall of Roe v. Wade forward, we have seen systematic categorical attacks on every single identifiable community in this country except for
except maybe white men.
Right? I guess depending on the white men.
Yeah, because there's intersectionalities.
Right, depending on the white men.
So some of them are still getting strays from other areas. But
don't even get me started on that. Who would have thought that when I voted for the people that eat people's faces, they'd eat my face? I'm so tired of the fucked around and found out MAGA videos, and they're like, it's like, oh, we only farm this particular thing, and we voted him because we thought it'd be funny to poke at woke liberals, and now my entire family is without a future.
Broke bitch.
Hold on, here we go.
Yeah, world's tiniest
I
violin.
ain't even got the violin. My violin out of tune.
I think I would feel very different if there was like a utilitarian nature to this. If all right, fine, then get on board. If you had to bottom out to figure out that there was a difference between these two massively different institutions, then okay, at least you're here. Except that that's probably not the case, right? I don't ever take away from these people that they've seen the error of their ways. They just feel now uniquely individually slighted. It is just more myopia. It is just more self-centeredness. It's just more putting themselves in the middle of everything because they put themselves there.
Yeah. And I think, another problem, however, though, in all of this, though, is also social media. As much as we also talk about, the Democratic Party and we talk about our politicians, it's also just like, how do we use social media and how social media is actually really, really hurting us by miseducating so many people. You talked about using, things like AI machine learning within your own business, right? Yeah. And how there are so many people out there who don't know how to look at a video and be like, that's AI. Luckily for me, because I teach this and I just bust my ass 3 months getting a certification, I've been able to start recognizing things a lot easier. But if you don't use these type of tools these days on a regular, it is going to really mess a lot of people up in the wrong ways because people are going to start believing things that aren't even close to being true. So I guess, I just say that to say that there's an, I want to say an elephant in the room, but there's a variable, an uncontrollable variable, I feel, that's part of the problem right now, and that's social media.
At least a Snuffy in their room.
And I just don't know how we can go about making sure that even from a social media standpoint, when we're sharing things and stuff like that, we're helping people, especially in all of these rural areas, because I'm telling you, and it's not even just rural areas, it's even my people back in Gary and stuff like that. They be posting things. I'm like, that ain't real. The amount of times I gotta call my own mama and daddy and be like, I'm gonna need you to take that down. Gosh. Okay, because that's not true. Here are some links. This is what's really, and I'm having to go and teach them. So
yeah, you're doing it right. And I wonder if, as you're explaining this to me, I'm sitting here nodding and being like, well, that's my experience. I hear this all the time. And, my parents were formerly Republican who became Democrats, and they're deeply educated and they care about misinformation and they want to be accurate in all their beliefs. And we're all susceptible to it. And it's only going to get worse, right? It's like we're in this time when we need to be at our best. We're confronted with the absolute worst to sort of aid that. And I think maybe, there's this whole wave of kids that are going back to analog phones, and they're not using email, and it's nothing but text on their phone. Maybe they have figured it out that the antidote here is interpersonal communication, right? None of us actually have more than about 25 friends. Yeah. We might be able to keep up with hundreds of people, and I'm glad that we can to some extent, but are we costing the interconnectedness with those 25 people to try to keep up with 300 or 3,000 or 300,000? Of course we are. Of course we are.
I'm just trying to see the thirst traps right quick. That's all I'm trying to do. I'll text you later, girl.
Right.
That's right. It.
Show me your fully intact collarbone and let me move on.
Exactly. Oh boy, we see your thirst traps out there too, and your Calvins, girl. We see you. And I can't even lie. I'll be out there too. My husband be like, "Oh, you just gonna post another shirtless picture?" Yep, and did. I've been working out,
Mom, this is the end of the podcast. You can clip it off now. Thanks everyone for joining us.
My mom would be like, I know what I birthed. I see you. I'm like,
Oh, yeah,
okay,
she
Mom,
knows.
thank you. But one last question before maybe we get maybe a little lighthearted here. But it's just like, I think, Jerrell, you kind of touched on the social media part of it, but another huge part of it is like almost this how do I even want to say, like the masculization. They're trying to say you're not man enough and this and that, especially a lot of like younger white male, even like this whole Charlie Kirk stuff. Like I feel
You
like
said his name correctly. Good
I know
for you, girl.
you saw the pause, so I had to
Yeah,
think real quick. I was like, "What's his name?"
Real time processing. Come on, compute power.
Girl, because I didn't even know this human being existed until he died. Thank God
How
that it was
refreshing.
in my orbit. It was very refreshing because I was like, I missed a whole lot of stuff. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
But this whole you ain't man enough and this seems to be the messaging to a lot of these kids today. How, as Democrats or the party, how are they even trying to tap into that demographic? Because if they don't get them young, and this is the messaging that they're trying to enforce day in, day out, and all the podcasts and all the discords and all that stuff, that's all the messaging that they're getting. We're going to be stuck in this for the next generation again. And if we don't nip it in the bud now, like I'll get too old. Like I just like said, I'm in my 40s. Like I don't want to live the rest of my life.
It's funny because it's always some like 19-year-old kid that looks like a cross between like a baked potato and Gollum, right? And it's like trying to explain what like masculinity is supposed to be.
That's not a baked potato and Gollum though.
Let me tell you the perfect feeling for Dewan, because the way that drive, I said, okay, you better take that Dewan torch like no other.
I think this is I have lots of thoughts on this, and there are days that so one, the Democratic Party likely doing very little. Two, I vacillate between thinking that's what young white men need, more attention paid to them, and thinking this is sort of the cold dying hand of a historical identity that we're working really hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
Like people who fear that the men of the 1950s won't exist in the 2030s, I hope they don't. I'm working really hard to make sure that they don't. And so I think what we're seeing is a bit of the vestige, right? Like one of the great things that I think that queer culture offers to heterosexual culture is the understanding that letting loose, feeling flirty or sexy or light or kind or gentle can all happen in a day, in a minute, in a song, in a movie, and can all happen to a person, and that is just you being your full self. It's not you slipping into a self that is effeminate or choosing not to be your masculine self. But we contain in multitudes, and that I think has been very effective. I do think that when you go into an average elementary school, for example, in the United States, that you will see a level of security and confidence and a breadth of identities in a way that none of us could really imagine in the 1980s and the early 1990s. And a lot of that isn't just
Late
because
90s.
They have been taught that.
Stop it. Jerrell's the baby of the group.
But I think it's worked, right? Like I think that there is a new standard for what masculinity means, and that it's a more inclusive standard, and that we're not a 1950s German or Russian sociological experiment. Why are we measuring people by masculinity and femininity? Oh, give me a break. The average tulip alone has several thousand different varieties. Why would, let alone the fact that there are several thousand varieties of flower, why would people be one of two things, right? That makes virtually no sense.
That was beautiful.
And so I think that
was.
Well, I think one of the problems of this, like this idea of is masculinity at risk is something that the sort of the cult recruiter says, the person that finds the person that's down, the people that pick the down and out, the person that doesn't know who they are. I think that these are people that are being preyed upon in a very culty way, that one day, hopefully, we will figure out and that how to prevent this. And other cultures, whether they don't let young people on TikTok, or there are certain hours that you're allowed to use certain social media platforms, or that misinformation has to go through. And a lot of other countries deal with this in different ways that we're not yet. But I think one day when we do, we will figure out that what was going on was, yes, there was an identity crisis among some people who didn't feel seen in the way that their dads thought they should have been seen 25 years ago,
Mhm.
and that they were preyed upon by people who used that to make them think that their problems were because of somebody else. And they are wrong, and the preying upon is wrong. I don't think the answer really is for us to do an about face and try to figure out how to be more attractive to young white men who are seeking masculinity.
Yeah, no, I
You know,
agree with
that's
that
the best
statement.
way to say that. I know that's right.
I agree with that statement.
Mm.
Woo! Well, we could honestly we could talk about this all day long because like it's just there's a lot of layers. But at the bare minimum, community, please just show up and vote. That's the biggest way that we could start to right this ship again. Because you saw what happened when you lay low last time. I know you had your job. The country's not set up to make it convenient. It's not set up to make it easy. But if you find a way to vote, please do and educate yourself the best way that you can, because we see what's happening right now. And for communities and folks that look and sound like us and love like us, it's paramount. Yeah. It is paramount, because if not, they're going to slowly but surely take away every right, and we're seeing it happen. And yeah, so anyway, you know that. And I know a lot of people that listen to our podcast are preaching to the choir, but hopefully we gave you at least a little additional information that you could pass on to your family, to your neighbors, and to your community.
And your network, right?
Your network.
Like queer people, we've all got chat groups. We've all got signal groups. We've all, like every one of us, we all use social media better than our straight counterparts do. Yes. We use it better than our family members do. Every one of us was a part of like 4 or 5 obnoxious threads during the last election cycle, and they've just sat dormant. Yeah. And now's the time, right? Even remember when you got to watch your friends like book club turn into like a Take Back Democracy club, and the knitting club was a postcard club? Those clubs still exist, and those people still believe the same things. They still share your values. Shoot them a text and say, hey, it's been a while. I miss you all. Like, we were the fighters. We're still in the fight. Or just, have you voted? My high school friends have a text group, and they're all actually kind of different politically, although it's hard, right? There's nobody in the group that's MAGA. There are Republicans that are angry and frustrated, but by and large, it's a Democratic group. But the amount of messages are just being like, hey, we're in Virginia. Yeah, we voted. We really like so-and-so, don't like so-and-so. But right now, show your friends that being mad is not a good enough reason not to do the most important thing you can do.
I love that.
Clip it. And if you're one of those thirst trappers, use your thirst trapness for good. Put a little message, even though people say, oh, you're just going to put like a little blurb and you just want the thirst trap. So be it. It is what it is. Use your thirst trapness for good.
Belly button shots. Real close up on a belly button. Let them spend like 10 minutes trying to figure out what it is.
Exactly.
I'm just gonna send shoulder shots. Everyone's gonna get. You're gonna get clavicle. Like, oh, that's my décolletage, my clavicle scar.
Put like a little highlighter on the clavicle. Like, ooh, just a little something. Community. Last time we had Brian on, we did a curiosity, but right before this curiosity, hopefully y'all didn't go to Chicago to see Brandy and Monica because you didn't get a show.
Child, let me tell you, when I saw that video, I felt kind of bad. I felt
horrible because I was about to be mad.
The first night I had FOMO. I was like, damn, I really don't got tickets. Like, I am not gonna see that. But
wait, you don't have any tickets? Kelly, I thought you got.
I did not end up getting tickets. I'm sorry, girl. So I saw Kelly and I was like, oh, Kelly looked good. The microphone was on. Yes. Then I saw them both came out and they did that Whitney Houston tribute. And I was like,
yes.
Then
you said, Ticketmaster.
Baby. I'm going to figure something out.
Night 2 or 3 came along.
Figure something out. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to figure something out. But then night 2, I saw that and I was like, well, hold on. Maybe I'm gonna wait to the back half of the tour.
Will there be a night 3 or 4? Are they traveling? So was this a one-time thing?
They're back. Mm-hmm. It was a one night. So like, I think it went, the first night was Cincinnati or something like that. Then I think they went to Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. Then they went to Chicago.
And I think they did 2 nights in Chicago.
And then
I was just in Milwaukee a couple of days ago. I feel like I need to shoot some messages to friends. So do we know what happened? Was there something backstage?
There's two things. Here's the thing. With social media, you can't get away with anything. Everybody got a camera now. So what they put out was saying that that she's sorry that she had to leave the stage. She was feeling dizzy and lightheaded, and that she went to the doctor after, and they told her not to continue to perform or something like that. Typical PR statement. Cool, calm and collected. But people have been posting like her like storming up the stage, yelling at the sound guy behind the stage, and all this stuff going off on this like behind the stage. And so it kind of
where my backup dancers at? That's what I was
right.
Where
my background singers.
No, it's giving Patty where the cue cards at. Where the cards at? Right. I don't know the name. I don't know the song.
For my background singers. But and it was funny.
She's
like someone
Merry
posted,
Christmas.
it was very that. So a lot of people like.
I was thinking it was like a Frank Ocean thing where she like just came out and wandered around all weird and then just like Coachella style and then just left.
Right. Nope. But here's the thing, like I would have been mad too, because like we've all been wanting this tour for the last 27 years, since like 1998. Since I saw that video with her and Monica, with Mekhi Phifer, fine ass, I've been wanting them to go on tour, and they finally do. And I feel like we maybe owe Monica an apology, because the narrative going into the tour was Monica's the drama. Maybe it's Brandy all along.
Maybe it's Mekhi Phifer.
Oh. Damn, they just we blame it on Mekhi. We blame it on
yeah.
Mekhi.
It's like the Spinderella. it's the N and Salt and Pepper. Maybe it's Mekhi Phifer.
Maybe.
I don't
all I
know
know is they better be in Newark when I go. That's what I do know.
All I know is nothing better fall apart about this tour until after the tour is over. Like,
yes,
I don't want it to be. What was it? Was it SWV and Escape? Like.
Yeah.
I don't need that level of drama on this tour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
I really.
What don't. I want is I want to hear it. I want to hear all about it 2 days after the tour.
There you go.
Like stick with it. Build up the drama. Take it. Write a diary down. Make a bunch of songs out of this. Like have something new from this.
It would be great.
Hate each other. Do an enemies song. There's not enough of those. I don't want to hear a duet. I want I hate you more song.
I hate you so much right now.
See, I'm even making it about them. It is clearly not about them, and I should see it's the sound tech. Yeah.
Right. So we'll see. So hopefully they make it through. And
but
again,
people are really
I
out here petitioning
in November
about a refund. People
I would have too. I would have been. Where do I sign?
I guess my question is how much of the show went on? Like,
it sounded like it was on like half. I know one person that was there, and they said it was like maybe not even half. Damn. And they said Monica came out and sang another song, and they turned the lights on, and that was it. And they said everybody was sitting there like, what the hell's going on?
Well, why did they just let Monica just do all her parts? Like, why did the whole thing gotta stop? That's what I want to know. If you got two headliners, like, if
could Monica have been done? Like, I mean, what could have been left is maybe they do two, 3 songs together at the end, or one song together at the end. Like, but like,
because I think they obviously end with The Boy Is Mine. And it sounds like they kind of go back and forth. So maybe just the cadence of like costume changes, it would just throwing everything up. I don't know. All I know is I would have been mad because I ain't about to pay more money.
I wonder if they addressed it the next time they're on stage. Even just, like if there was something snarky or spicy.
It was in Indianapolis this week, and they just got up there singing away.
What I hope is there's cameras like videoing this tour. And I hope we get some form of
a documentary. Or something.
Oh, man. Okay, look. And you know I don't like documentaries. But I would watch the fuck out that shit. I would.
You know what? They're filming this. There is no question that there's not a film crew traveling with the two of them backstage. Anybody would watch that, even if it went wonderfully well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let alone there might not be.
Mm-hmm. Hey, am I the drama? It ain't Cardi B. It's Brandy.
Damn.
Oh, damn. Right. All right. Here we go. Community. Curiosity with Brian Sims Part 2. And so if you don't recall, it's like this or that, my favorite, all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What's the last song you played on your phone?
Oh, he's going to kill me for saying this. No, it's my husband's song. My husband has a song on Spotify.
Get out. Alex has a song on Spotify?
Oh, he's going to kill me. I listened to it like twice a day. I just listened to it a little bit ago.
I love that. That's
okay,
good. Everybody's like, I gotta look it
What's the name of the song?
Look at Jerrell looking at. He's like, let me add it to the
I got my
playlist
phone right
already.
here. I sure am.
Jerrell, he sang with the 13, which is the an a cappella group, the nation's second oldest all male a cappella group in college. He was in a cappella in high school and in college, and he harmonizes and stuff every now and again when he doesn't think I'm around and something's on. He'll harmonize with it. It makes me melt.
Man, so your husband is a baller and he can sing.
And a singer.
You better do that. Okay, so
yeah,
the
that's
song.
right.
It's Latch.
Okay.
It's a cover of Latch.
Okay.
Like the Sam Smith Latch? Love it.
Okay.
Love it.
Find this.
By the 13.
Okay now. Send it to me, Jerrell, when you find it. Thank you.
Okay, look.
I keep waiting for him to get like this email from his buddies, like whoever manage it, and be like, "Hey, it turns out that your song that one year has just been played over and over again on this. Like, it's just me, over and over and over again."
It was Spotify paying like the percentage of cents.
Right? 0.6 of a thousandth of a cent have been going to Colgate University.
All right, let's see here. What bitters did you make this fall?
Just finished a bitters for our wedding a little over a month ago, and we did it for Connecticut. Oh, I wish I had it around me. And it's sea salt and sage.
Sea salt and sage. Okay. Sea salt and sage.
Sea salt and sage.
I'm not the biggest sage person.
Me neither. And it was kind of complicated to make a bitters out of it, so I had to use sage in 3 different forms. I used very dry sage, almost like tea leaves. Yeah. Put that in the mash, and it didn't do enough, and so I used an actual sage oil, like a true sage extract oil, and that did work for the flavor. But in the last week or two before I bottled it, a lot of the scent started to sort of fade out of it, and so I used fresh sage ground up in it and the mash for the last week. That makes it really aromatically sage too.
Okay. And did we say it? Congrats on the wedding? Like, I mean, I know we've said outside the podcast, but congrats on the wedding, by the way.
Thank you.
All right, let's
take it.
PB&J or turkey sandwich?
PB&J. PB&J.
Oh, the way you said that.
I'm with you on.
PB&J. You give me like a whole grain, like whole wheat bread, real. I don't like chunky peanut butter. I like creamy peanut butter. I want it to be kind of thick, and then pretty much jelly. I don't even need it to be nice. Real basic jelly is all I need in this world.
Y'all lost me with the creamy, because the crunchy peanut butter is where it's at, baby.
No,
if I wanted unfinished peanut butter,
unfinished.
No. Like, why would? I think you even pay more for crunchy. Just tell them to finish.
I mean, let me tell you, and I use my mouth to finish it. So there we go.
Like, hurry up, bitch. Hurry it up.
This isn't the end of this podcast, but if you could take that last little snippet and move it to the very, very beginning and just open with,
that'll be the clip.
I use my mouth to finish it.
That'll be the clip.
Next week, Rel uses his mouth to finish it.
Exactly. Per usual. The community knows. They already know.
I know.
Let's see here. What's the last book you read?
A really good book called the Hail Mary Project. And it's written by the guy that wrote The Martian. And the premise of it is essentially an astronaut wakes up in space. The 2 other astronauts that are with him are dead. He vaguely doesn't know why he's there or what's going on, although that comes back to him. And he's been sent on a mission to try to study an effect that's happening to another star in order to save what's happening to our planet.
Wow. Okay, that sounds kind of good. Actually, that's up my alley.
It is. I'll tell you, the book that I finished right before that was worth reading, and I got it from the Obama reading list. It's the only book I've ever gotten from any Obama's reading list, and it's called the Ministry of Time.
I've heard good things about that book.
Great book, great book. It came out last year. I think it won the Hugo Award for Best Sci-Fi Book. And the premise of it is that in the near future, the British government figures out some type of time travel, and in the early phases of studying it, pulls 5 people out of time that were going to die anyway. And you join this narrative right as they're beginning to study these 5 people from the vantage point of one of the people assigned to study them. And it's a really fun, quick, sort of really neat sci-fi read.
You know, like growing up, I used to have to read to fall asleep every night. But I haven't read a book that's just like fiction in forever. Like, I've turned into like this nonfiction guy. And I want to get back into fiction again. Like, I feel like that would
It's why I've been
stop my
reading these.
brain from like overthinking everything out here. It's just take me out and let me escape a little more.
That's the only type of book.
Read The Ministry of Time. It was a quick, wonderful read. It doesn't, a lot of the book feels like you could take a paragraph out of it and put it in any book. You could put it on your refrigerator or knit it onto, like a pillow. It is wonderfully elegant and eloquent, but it's not all just about what's going on in the book. There's a lot of it feels like it's a referendum on who we are and what we're doing and why we do the things that we do. And there's a complex love story in it, and there's some sadness in it. And it's not sci-fi as in, dragons or aliens, but it does require you to sort of think about the future that we hope to create.
Okay. When do you feel you're most sexy?
When do I feel my most sexy? I'm pausing because I don't often, or I haven't in my life often felt particularly sexy. We all love a compliment. We love when somebody else thinks that we are. I spent most of my life not my type, which is one of the complex things about being a gay man. My build was not attractive to me, and I could never sort of differentiate that from like self-hatred or just having a particular type that wasn't me at the time, right? I will tell you, in the last couple of years, what's made me feel very sexy is my partner, my husband. We think it's trite, or we take it for granted when somebody checks you out, or when someone whistles, or they give you that sly eye. Especially within a relationship. But, his sly eye means more to me than any person walking the planet. And I'm, yesterday or last night when we were climbing into bed, and he whistled at me as I was climbing into bed. And I thought about that half the day today.
Oh,
I love that.
That is cute.
But I totally
So that's
understand
when you feel you're most sexy then.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, he makes me feel sexy.
Good.
That's good. Let's see here. What's your favorite thing to do on the weekends at the lake?
I have yet to like develop a really good pattern for just sort of putzing around here, but I'm working to do that. Okay. This lake that we live on, like, doesn't really have any major projects, and so it's just little tiny hammering things down, screwing that back in, and trying to make it look like a home that we love and want to use. And so I build a really mean fire. I like to, when we get here, I like to kind of clean off the deck, and like all people, there's those little places in your space that you like to kind of nuggle down, those the little corner where you sit for coffee, or the little place where you're most comfortable talking on the phone. I try to make sure that those places are all in a way that we like them, and then just to try to sit and use them. I started to learn to sew last year.
I was just about to ask you.
And took some time off.
On the list.
I was about to ask you,
So
what are
let's
you
talk about
currently
the
sewing?
sewing.
Because you posted that you were making, I think, a shirt. Like, you had took this different type of like flannel material, and you were making something.
Yep.
And we ain't seen nothing since then on the
I should've worn
internet. So I was curious to what
I should've worn
happened
it.
to this garment, because we ain't seen it since.
I wore one when we were all in San Diego.
Oh, see,
I've made a bunch. It sounds so funny. I've made it's like a broy queer baseball shirt, like an adult baseball shirt. You know that, like the sleeve that goes all the way down. And so I out of knit cottons and some flannels, and when I first started, I was using these big scarves that I was never going to wear for anything, and so I was using those because the sleeves kind of fit right. And I'm trying to think. I've made a bunch of pillows, and
come on back.
He's like, it's home ec all over again. I'm living
all over again. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like the bitters. I've never sold a bottle of bitters, and I've made maybe 1,000 bottles of bitters in my 15 years or so of making them. It's some of it's like a mandala. There's just something about doing something that requires a steady mind, or requires you to kind of bring your focus in, but it's low risk, and I like that. I like also my parents. One of the things that I always really loved about my parents is that they had hobbies that were different from each other, and they had hobbies that had nothing to do with their kids. And now that I'm an adult that lives outside of their home, I can see how important those things are to their mental health, to their identities. And I want to make sure that I continue to learn that lesson from them. And so I might be
1000%.
bad at a lot of the things that I try, and some of them don't take. And I certainly try a lot of different hobbies, and most of it is just because I really like the idea of creating a little something that I can pass off to someone.
But
It's a
also
simple
sounds like you
moment of
have like
joy.
a joy for learning though too. Like
I was about to say, it's a
trying
joy
something
and stuff
different,
like that.
and also like not being afraid
My
to
best
fail, which is
moments.
really awesome. Honestly, I feel like a lot of
I'm not
people.
afraid to fail. I'll say that
Yeah,
much.
well, but I think that's what
Yeah.
stops a lot of people from wanting to try, out hobbies, right?
Because
Like
you want to be
the
good out the
idea,
gate.
but then also too the idea of investing in something, right? And then not working out, and you're like, damn, I done wasted all that money. I didn't bought these tools, I didn't bought
Yeah.
this, and I'm never gonna use it again. So you know what? I'm just not even gonna do it.
Yeah. I don't know. I learned something really funny when I was running for office that I wish I had learned a little earlier in that time period. But failure is the most damn relatable thing in the human condition.
That
One of the
part.
mistakes that candidates make, and I teach candidates this, a lot of candidates run on their resumes and they think if I can tell you about all the accomplishments I've had, all the places I've been, awards that I've received, notoriety, often those things create huge amounts of distance between the person that you're asking to vote for you and
I
yourself.
agree.
You tell somebody how amazing you are and how special you are, and they don't find themselves in any of that, then you're just far away from them. Mistakes are the common ground that really bind us all together. And so when people used to say to me, I could never run for office, I have fucked up this, and this, I think, well, you know what? I guarantee you a lot of voters have too. And even people who have not fucked up in that same way have fucked up. And the human condition is to relate to people. And our mistakes and our foibles are significantly more relatable than our successes and the things that set us apart from everyone else.
And at
so,
minimum, we got a president that's a criminal, so shit. The
and
bar
can't
is
admit anything, right? I don't know. We're all supposed to be looking out for each other, but we're all supposed to be cutting each other a whole lot of slack.
Like I hear you, but my red flag as a Capricorn can't take that. My mind is like, no, let me tell you, you can't be great at it. That ain't for you. So go do something that you're good at. Spend your time doing
Move
what
on.
you're good at. What you don't got time to fail. You got all these other things you need to be doing. Go put more time in what you're
That's
already
funny.
good at. So, but I need to hear
Guys,
that.
do either of you play, for example, do either of you play an instrument?
I do.
I've tried.
Bro, what do you play?
I've played piano since like second grade.
And do you still play a lot?
Not as often. I like Community knows this. Like for literally the bulk of my life, I thought I was going to be in the music industry. I thought I was going to be music producer. Like I still produce music. So like even like the theme song on here I made and things like that. Since the podcast has taken off, it's kind of fulfilled that creative part of my brain. So there's just the time that it takes to do this has kind of taken a lot from that. But literally this last weekend, I heard this song randomly on the station when I was at the gym, and it gave me inspiration. I was like, ooh, this makes me want to like. And so I think this weekend I'm going to try to carve time out and be like, let me create something again. And I was also thinking, I was like, I've never just put a lot of just like the songs that I've created just out on like my Instagram and social media, really. I think I'm going to start doing that too. I was like, why not? It's just sitting on my hard drive. At this point,
right, and an opportunity to kind of revisit it and in a completely different light, right? Like now it gets to be something that you enjoy versus something that's supposed to catapult you.
Yeah, and honestly, like it's the one true thing in my entire life that brings me complete joy is creating music. Period. Like all of the above. To this day, the only thing that if I know anything about Kerel, that's the one thing for sure. And and it just maybe just didn't work out the way I thought and things like that. And again, there's always time. And again, this podcast has created avenues and just other ways for that same kind of creativity in the brain to get out. But yeah. I literally always thought that's what I was. And maybe it still happens. Who knows? You never know.
I want that just to watch you explain that. I'm like, man, I don't feel that way about it. I'm like, man. I
wake up in the middle of the night to this day. Like if you look at my voice notes on my phone, I was just telling somebody this the other day too. If you look at my voice notes in my phone, half of them, if not more than half of them, is I get melodies and stuff in my brain in my sleep. And just me waking up out of my sleep, humming into my phone and going back to sleep. And then in the morning, forgetting what it was, but I know I did it and going back and be like, oh yeah, I did hear that in my sleep.
I think that's so neat.
It's fucking bizarre. I get it, but people are like, okay,
Yeah,
really?
I'm gonna wake up and crochet and then go back to sleep.
I know that's right. All right, let's hear a couple more and we'll get you out of here. Boxers or briefs?
Briefs.
Bath or shower?
I love a bath when I have the opportunity. Like, it's a fast-paced world. I don't even my cabin doesn't even have a bathtub. But if I'm staying over at your house and there's a bathtub that looks like it can handle me, I'm taking a bath.
That it can handle me.
I know that's right.
I know that's right.
I know that. I'm so not a bath person. I try like we have a great bath here, and Corey will probably take a bath probably like 4 days a week. Like every Christmas, I try to find.
I'm not that person.
Like I'll find.
But
him
don't you ever just?
Stuff. He loves it. No, it's too hot. I'm in there like I'm a hot human being as it is. Like I be sweating as it is. Getting in there, I'm sitting there like I'm fucking dying.
The muscle recovery, let me tell you, there's nothing.
I can't relax in it.
For muscle recovery, I love it. With all the sports that I play, being able to take a bath and soak my body after playing like 4 hours of football or playing 3 hours of like volleyball, like sitting in a tub.
I wish I could.
The cucumbers over your eyes, the drink next to the bath.
Yeah.
Contemplating life. No, all right.
Guess it's just us, Brian.
I feel like I almost need to shower. Then I feel like you got to shower before you take a bath because then there's something about like sitting in your own dirt.
Well, I know who I won't be taking a bath with.
Right. It's just like if coming from sweat from the gym and you in your own sweat, it's like, oh, no, let me shower first, then get in the tub. Last time you were here, we mentioned that you love Drag Race like we love Drag Race.
Yes.
Do you have a Rushmore of drag queens?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do. Tatiana.
Okay.
That might be my controversial one. Tatiana. Detox.
Okay. You got two more.
Bob.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Jinx.
That's not a bad four. That's not a bad four.
If I'm adding Monet and Jujubee.
I love Jujubee.
Honestly, Juju's hilarious. Juju would be one of mine.
Juju. Yeah, she might be.
Yeah, I've worked with Jujubee, and she is just she's as talented and as funny on camera or off camera as she is on camera. She's just a really fantastic person.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, no, Jujubee might be. What is yours, Jerrell? Like, we've over the course of the podcast, we've kind of
mine only goes back to mine's only go back to 2019. So I wouldn't even.
I know.
I still haven't done enough homework to have one. So until I go back and watch Drag Race, I can't really say I have a
it's hard though, because like
it's hard.
Like drag wouldn't be drag without Latrice Royale.
Oh my gosh!
Like Drag Race would not be without.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
While not exactly my speed, like what a Violet Chachki or a Miss Fame does for drag is deeply real.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like deeply real. But I also I love I like what Arietti is doing with drag right now. I think that's kind of weird, and I think it's a little bit more of the future of drag.
Yep.
And while I don't always get into the sort of female impersonator side of drag, there are people who do it like Bosco that does it so well that is like both talent and stunning.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I would probably have to put Shay on mine. I love Shay.
How could I forget Shea Coulee? Like probably the most well-rounded drag queen in Drag Race history. Like Shea Coulee can do it.
Everything.
Can do it all. Shea Coulee
like,
could be
like the best of the ability. Like
absolutely. She could be like left of Janet on any stage with 2 days notice.
I agree with that statement. Yeah.
Yep.
So. Anyway, Brian, we appreciate you taking the time to come on here, taking the time to really just educate us as well, just like the current climate. We're going to have to obviously keep you coming with more on oh God, Paul, that wasn't meant to be innuendo.
I mean, hey now.
Continue to come onto the podcast.
Clip that and put that at the front, okay?
Said what I said. But continue to come and hang with us because we appreciate your perspective, quite frankly, because we need folks that have lived it, and then even after they've retired from it, continue to utilize their privilege and their expertise to continue to aid folks in our communities, quite frankly. So we appreciate you taking that step and continuing that, even though I know it's probably not easy. I know it's not, maybe the grandiosity and that a lot of people think it is. But we appreciate you because that's your skill set and utilizing it for good. We definitely appreciate that and give you your flowers for sure. So for those that don't know what Agenda PAC is and things like that, where can they find that information again? Let them know.
Yep. Go to agendapac.org online. You can find us on Instagram, on Facebook. You can go to my social media as well. All of our information is up there. But mostly what I encourage people to do is just go to Agenda PAC, look up the state that is the most important to you, and read a little bit about who the person we've picked in your state that is the most beatable bigot. And if the state's important to you, maybe you know somebody there that you should send that to. And you don't have to do anything with a vote. You don't have to do anything with money. Just do something with some awareness and let people know.
Absolutely. Community, get out there and vote, please. Please. It's critical. Even outside the big election years, these local elections as well are just as pertinent. So
the people who hate us take advantage of these years, and they take advantage of the fact that we often don't vote in the same way that we should. And so they're taking extra advantage right now. Shut down the people that hate us.
That well said. Jerrell, anything else on your heart and mind, boo?
No, but this was lovely. This made my day. Like, it's wedding week, and let me tell you, this is like the calm before the storm.
Right.
So this time when this
Jerrell
episode
gets married
comes
this
out,
weekend.
I'll be married. So this is
She's mad now.
Literally, I get off here and I start getting guests from the airport right after this. So this was...
Jerrell, from here on out, don't give two shits about anything other than you, yourself, your family, your friends, and what your next couple of days are like.
I'm gonna try to, but there's just so many damn questions, y'all. Like,
You know what? I will tell you, it does go quickly. Having just done mine 5 weeks ago, it did go quickly, but I remember every single bit of it, and that's part of the reason it went quickly. That day lasted forever, but I remember it all.
Yeah. I know it'll be a good time. I can't wait for it to be done and back to my scheduled programming. But other than that, thanks, Brian. Baby, it was good seeing you. And again, when I'm next in New York, we're going to be hanging out.
Yes, please.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, please.
Well, community, wash your hands, your legs, and your ass, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye, y'all.